Hello once again and welcome to Light Law. It's been a while since we've done one of these videos. I thought I'd bring it back. It's been about 6 months to be honest. It's been ages since we've done one of these. But I thought I'd do another one, start the series back up and do Light Law on what we originally did Light Law for, which is Game of Thrones. We did a lot of the major houses. We did like House Lannister, House Stark, a lot of the houses, House Martell. But I'm going to stop doing houses for a while. I'm going to talk about like historical events a bit more. So like we talked about the Field of Fire. This time we talked about the Doom of Valyria, and then next time we'll go back to the houses again. Just thought I'd like mix it up because doing the houses every single time can be boring. But I thought we'd start with the Doom of Valyria because it's a pretty big thing in Westeros. It's a pretty big thing in the history of Game of Thrones, and it seemed like it was a good idea. So here's hoping actually it's a good idea. I don't know. Maybe it's maybe it's a terrible idea. The Doom of Valyria is talked about quite a lot in Game of Thrones, but you might not know what it is. Maybe you missed out on what I was saying, maybe you don't know what it is, maybe you're unsure about what it is, but you've heard of it. But what it basically is what destroyed much of Essos. Now, it destroyed the Valyrian Freehold, and the Valyrian Freehold was pretty much like the bulk of Essos, and that was destroyed by a natural event that nobody can explain. The Maesters can't explain it, the Lords themselves can't explain it, because the fucking Lords who are involved in the Doom of Valyria are all dead, so they can't really talk about it. The dead aren't really talkative, to be honest. But like nobody knows why it happened. It's just a natural event that happened in the world of Westeros, the world of Essos, the world of Sotheros. That whole kind of world. I don't know what the world of Game of Thrones is called, but whatever the world is called, it kind of fucked up Essos, and nobody knows why. It was down to fire. It was down to something that kind of just blew up, and everybody went and died. Basically, very sad. A lot of casualties. It took place about 100 years before the Targaryens came into Westeros and started really invading the place. Plus, people tend to speculate that George Martin actually got the kind of influence for the Doom of Valyria behind the fall of Atlantis. I'm not sure how they connect. I'm not really sure about Atlantis' history or the story about Atlantis. But apparently, George got the idea for the Doom of Valyria because of the Atlantis kind of mythos. I don't know if now the Doom of Valyria was actually prophesied by Daenerys the Dreamer, and her father, Aenor Targaryen, was at the seat of House Targaryen, and he chose what basically happened. At this time he had 5 dragons, not that that really makes a difference to the situation, just a bit of information. But he was told by his daughter, Daenerys the Dreamer, that she had a vision basically that Valyria would fall and there would be a big natural disaster. And most people wouldn't believe you if you said that. Like, if you went up to someone and said, I've had a vision about the world exploding, or about the country exploding, they'd go, fuck off. Go see a maester, you cunt. Right? But not the Targaryens. The Targaryens are a bit dippy. Let's be honest, they're a bit well, they are inbred. So it explains a lot. They're inbred, full stop. So, no explanation needed. He took her word for it, and they fucked off somewhere else. They fucked off to Dragonstone specifically, and they took seat there, and kind of began a new life there. And lo and behold, the Doom of Valyria actually did happen, and everybody who didn't listen to the little girl's advice was fucked. Well, was boiled alive. I mean, boiled alive and fucked don't really fall into the same category. I mean, it depends on your fetishes, to be honest, but you'd have to have some kind of kinky fucking fetish to want to be boiled alive. It wasn't only the Targaryens who left their kind of home of Valyria in order to flee the kind of incoming disaster. The Cipyaars and the Valyrians, who are like minor houses below the Targaryens, they joined them, naturally. They went with them and heeded the Dreamer's advice. But let's be honest, when a house called the Valyrians leaves Valyria, that should be a kind of idea of how bad things are probably going to be. And you should probably leave that area. It's like if the Queen of England fled from England, I think a lot of people would fucking go with her. Because if she's leaving, then she's got to be something bad, you know? She wouldn't leave unless it was an emergency. So, the Valyrians are from, like, Driftmark. They're not even from Valyria. But still, if they've got the same name, so the same rule applies, in my eyes anyway. Just saying. Just saying. Valyrians leaving, fucking whole of Valyria should leave with them. The natural disaster hit the Valyrian capital of Valyria, great fucking name there, House Velaryon of Valyria, capital city, Valyria. Fucking almost as good as Aegon Targaryen. The first, the second, the third, the fourth, the fucking fifth. But anyway, it hit Valyria, the city, first. And it kind of had this kind of expanding kind of weird thing. Like it hit in the middle of Valyria and expanded over the whole country thing. Really strange. What happened basically was it was like a firestorm. There was earthquakes, there was eruptions of volcanoes. There was just fire on every scale imaginable. So like ovens were going off. People were having really hot baths. Like the baths went up by like 10 degrees. Really bad. Now even though the Doom of Valyria is pretty much over, it's done, the aftermath is still very visible. The ruins of Valyria, another good name, are even more dangerous. They've created what's known as the Smoking Sea. Doesn't sound very nice. And what happens is there's demons there, apparently. I don't know, I've never been there. I mean, no one's ever been there because it's not real, but you know what I mean. There's demons, there's smoky waters, obviously because of the smoky ocean. And if you see the volcano itself, you're cursed for life. So even looking at the damn place gets you fucked. So it's just bad luck. It's the bad luck Brian of the Game of Thrones world, basically. So just don't go to Valyria. If you go to Westeros for your holidays, I don't know why the fuck you would, but you probably get beheaded by some weird lord. Not Joffrey. That would be too kind of easy. You wouldn't even go to Joffrey. Who would you get beheaded by? You get beheaded by Turkleton of House Toot. Just some really low lord. You're not good enough to visit Joffrey, right? Don't teach yourself. Turkleton of Toot would be beheading you. That's what's gonna happen. Turkleton of Toot is the worst of the worst. He started from the bottom, now he's here. And here is just at the bottom, so he hasn't really moved at all. He's been in the same place the whole time. You just never saw him. Turkleton of Toot needs his own fucking story now. Like, fuck the Winter Winter. Fuck off with that story. Turkleton of House Toot needs to be a thing. That's what I want to hear a story of. I don't even know what I was talking about anymore. I think I've got ADHD. Demons, volcanoes, smoky water, general non-goodness. If you're looking for information on Valyria itself, not actually the Doom of Valyria, Valyria had no kind of king, it had no specific person of power who looked after them, had no king, had no like main slaver, but it had the Lords of Freeholder, and I couldn't find any information about these guys. But I take it they're just like a company of people, sort of like a council of sorts. I think it'll be like a similar kind of state, where like you have different people of different situations, from different backgrounds basically, who kind of decide the fate of the sea. I mean that would make sense most to me, but I don't know. That's my best guess at what it specifically is. But all I know is it's called the Lords of Freeholder, and maybe they're just like stockholders who just happen to come across Valyria somehow and just sit there estimating stocks. That's what I imagine they are. The Lord's stockholders. Despite the fact that they were civilized, they actually believed in slavery as a thing. Like they thought that that was a key part of their city, a key part of the mainframe of like any civilization was that you have slavery, so that like the meager work and the mighty rule. That's probably like some kind of well-known saying, but if it's not, it's fucking copyrighted. The meager work and the mighty rule. Although the Doom of Valyria only started in Valyria, it also affected Slaver's Bay, and went as far as to get to Sorceros. Now, these weren't actually kind of volcanic events, tsunamis that actually happened and caused a lot of damage. Maybe not as much as the firestorms did, but still caused damage at a monumental scale, and changed the landscape of the place by a drastic amount as well. As an effect of the Doom of Valyria, the Dothraki actually emerged. Like they weren't around in Essos at all before the Doom of Valyria, and I think, don't quote me on this, but I think that they were survivors of some kind of aspect of the Doom of Valyria, nomadic tribes of some description that they kind of clumped together and slowly developed and became the Dothraki that we know today. But it's kind of interesting that the Doom of Valyria triggered the kind of birth of a civilization. I mean, Dothraki are hardly civilized, but the birth of a kind of group of people that are so well known and grew so much, you know? Like, even though they do just raid and rape people, they're still counted as a type of person. Like, you have like the Westerlands, you have the Salatins, you have the fucking Dothraki. Although no one knows what caused the doom of Valyria, one theory is that it was the Faithless Men. Now the Faithless Men say that their founders were working in the mines in Valyria and vowed to kill the Valyrians, both in people and in memory. They want to get rid of the Valyrians totally. So a lot of the kind of, let's face it, a lot of the Faceless Men say that this is true, so you can't really trust them because they don't have a biased opinion on the matter, aren't they? But what they basically say is that their kind of group started because of the Doom of Valyria and caused it. And that's what kind of inspired them to do good, is because the whole thing of destroying the Valyria was doing good, getting rid of those people who like endorsed slavery. But in doing so, you killed a bunch of fucking slaves too. So I don't know where the logic behind that is. The Faceless Men are now also the bloody Brainless Men, because like you fucking killed a bunch of innocent you cunts. It's hardly keeping up with the motive. Motive? The motto. Both. Both of them. Two of them twos. Aye. But that's basically everything on the Doom of Valyria. I think this might have been a shorter episode than normal, but hopefully you enjoyed this episode nonetheless. If you have any requests, then feel free to ask. Otherwise, I've been Cipyaar. This has been Lightlaw, Doom of Valyria. We're going to continue the Game of Thrones series. That's a no-brainer. We're going to continue talking about different houses and different aspects of the kind of Westerosi lore. But I'm thinking of doing a Witcher series alongside this series, because I just finished The Witcher 2. I really like the lore behind that, but that might be more of a learning experience for both of us. Like, I would learn about the lore and then tell you, instead of already knowing what happens, you know? So we'll see how that goes. I'm 90% sure that I'm going to do a Witcher 2 series as well, or Witcher in general series on Lightlaw, but we'll see. Farewell.